Okay, now we were here. The version name was basically one. Now the next thing we need to define here, which will be a constructor for this particular class. So which is important. Like whenever we will declare the objects, what are the different things we need to pass. So I will create a constructor. Let me just see the most relevant. Although we have a different variety, the one which will looks good to me, I will use that one. Okay, context. I think the first one is okay. So let's select the first one and let's change it. I will just pass only the context. So the remaining parameter I do not need it. So I've just removed. Now these are basically the context. Now, what is the variable name for your database? In our case, we have DB name. So I will use here DB name. Factory, it's not a time to discuss the factory, but I'm just passing this one null. Version, we have capital. So just use here version should be capital. So now this is basically our constructor. Now, one more thing, what will be our running database name? So for my running database name, I can use here SQLite. Let me just create the one SQLite database where we will store our data within the memory. So to store the data within the memory, I'm just creating here the database, which is MyDB. MyDB. MyDB is basically our the database which will be within the memory, active memory, and we will store here the data. Now, on the on create, when you will run your application and you will create the object of this particular application, so uh, we need to create a table. For creating table, I'm just writing here a query. You can use the query. Query might be the reserved word, so I'm just changing with the str query, and let's use here create table employee. This is the table name. Now parenthesis, starting parenthesis. So what are the column you needed? You need to specify here. We need to specify the different column name. Now the first column name I need here, this will be employee ID. So employee ID integer, integer. Make sure you should not do any typing mistake. Otherwise, it will give you an error, and then it will be a bit difficult or challenging for you to find out the error. So employee integer, and this will be primary key. Primary key. Now this is the first column plus now the second column. Now I'm just writing here employee name text not null, which mean that this is required. This is required. Now one more thing we need here, which will be salary. So integer and not null, and plus. Now then we have the address. So address will be text, or let's make it null. So optional is possible. And the last one we need here, department ID. So this one will be integer, not null. So this way you can create your table. Make sure you should not do any typing mistake. Let me just check again. Create table, employee, okay, fine. Integer, primary key, okay, everything is perfect. This looks perfect. Now on create, whenever we will create a database, so we will create an object of this particular class. So we need to call the on create, and the on create need the one input database. So input database, within this input database, I want to create my table, this particular table. So to do that, I'm writing here db dot execute SQL. Execute SQL. execute SQL need as an input uh, one parameter, which is string as a SQL. So this is what we have, a string, and we have the SQL query. So I'm just writing here str query. So mean that execute this particular query and create my database. So create my table. So now the table has been created. Uh, the table has been created within your specified database. Now, one thing more, once you have defined the database name, also created a table. So before inserting a record or before updating record or deleting record, you need to open your database. So for opening, and then once you have used your database, so after using your database, you have to close your database. So for opening and closing, I'm defining here two more functions. The one I'm just writing here OpenDB. OpenDB is the one function, and the one more function I'm just writing here return type. Return type you can just define here void. It will not return anything. And the one more function I'm just writing here public void close DB. So close database. This is the one more function. OpenDB will open the database and close DB will close the database. So now what is our locally created database name? MyDB. MyDB. You can just see this one, this line, MyDB. So I'm just writing here MyDB equal get writable database. Get writable database. It's mean that I want to insert record, I want to update record, and I want to delete record within this particular database which I have just created within the memory through the within the employee table. Now this statement will basically open your database. Now once you have used your database and you have performed all the activity, so after performing the activity, you need to close your database. So for closing database, I can just use here if my DB dot is open. If the database is already open, if the database is already open, so what to do? So my DB dot close. So close the database. If it is open, if it is not open, so don't close it. So this function now it will basically close our database once we will use it. Now, this is the one more thing. Now, let's come back to the um, save record. Now, it's the time to write down the code for your saving record. For saving record, we need now to call the built-in function. We need to call the built-in function, and then we can save our record. Now, what are the values we want to save? We want to save employee ID, we want to save the employee name, we want to save the salary, address, and department ID. Where we want to save basically within this particular database, within this particular table, employee, having these columns. So look, employee ID, name, salary, and address. These are the column name and employee the table name, and these are the values. I want to save these values within these column and within this particular table name. To do that, we need here the one more object, and that object will be that is called content value. Content value. Content value. Let's take here the one object of the content values. New content values. Content mean it's clear from the name. Content mean what are the values you want to save. So you can save the values within your employee table through the content values class. Through the content values class. Now, what are the values you have? Now, what is the object name? The object name is, in our case, we have the values. So I'm just writing here values dot put. Now, what is the value? What value you want to save? So what is the first column name? Our first column name is employee ID. Look, E is capital, ID is capital. So make sure you should write down exactly, I suggest you should copy and then paste there. You should paste here. Do not write down something like this, employee ID, then it will not work. Because the column name, here whatever the name you will specify here, it must be exactly same as your column name. So we have something like this. Now, what value you want to save? So this employee ID. So I'm writing here employee ID. So this is the first. Then the second one we have values dot put. Now the second one is employee name. So make sure, look, in my case, E is capital, N is capital. So I'm writing exactly same, employee name. I strongly recommend you should copy and paste from the same column name. Do not type, otherwise you will do the mistake then. Now the next one is salary. In my case, S is capital, that's why I'm just writing here the capital. So this is the value I want to save inside the salary. Furthermore, we have here put extra. We have here address. So I'm writing here address. Okay, save the address value. And the one last put extra department ID and save the last value, which is the department ID. Now these are the values. These are the values I want to save. So how can I just save? Basically, you can say what is your database name. Your database name you have already declared. Look, this one, MyDB, and you get basically your writable database. So MyDB is your database, basically active database. So within this database, you have the one table, and that table name is employee table, and these are the columns. So that's why I'm just writing here. Now, instance of 0, I'm writing here my db dot insert insert record. Insert record need as an input. Insert is the built-in function. Insert is the built-in function of SQLite database class. Insert is the built-in function. We haven't defined this one. It's need table name and the values, content values. The first parameter is basically the table name. So what is the table name we have? We have here employee. This is the table name. So let's go there, back there, and use here now employee. Huh? Second parameter, I'm just passing null. Now the third parameter is basically your values. Look, the first one is table name. Second one, I have just passed the null. And the third one, what are the values you want to save within this particular table? So I want to save here these values, all these values. And these values are stored within the values object. So I'm writing here values. So now this is what we have uh, done for the save record. Now, as I just told you, like before, this function, insert function, like this insert function, will return -1 if there is an error, and will return 0 if the record has saved successfully. So what you have to do here, press the control and then move the cursor on the insert function. It will change the color from black to blue. So what you have to do here for your convenience, press CTRL and move cursor on insert function and click on insert function. Huh? And do not leave the control button. Now look, I'm again pressing control button. Now I have pressed the control button. I have pressed the control button, and now I'm just moving the cursor, and the color has been changed from black to blue. Now let me click. Let me click. Once I will click, so it will show you the definition. It will show you the, now look, this is the class. This is the class name. The class name we have here, the class name is SQLite database.java. SQLite database.java. Now, as you can just see here, look, SQLite database. This is the class, and this is the class definition. Now, one of the functions of SQLite database.java, one of the functions of this one is insert record. Insert record. It's need as the input table name and plus content values. Content values. And will return, this function will return the long value. It will insert your record, and while if there is an error during this part, it will catch your error and will display you the error while inserting your whatever the error you have, and it will also return the -1. This function is basically returning the -1. This is basically the definition. So that's why you can just see here, we have just used here during the saving record, we have just used here -1. The reason behind, we wanted to see where is basically the error is. Now, this is the first part. Now the save record function has been done. Let's come back to the update record. For updating record, we need to specify once again content values. Values equal to new content values. And for updating record, once again, we need to pass the ID, name, salary, address, and department. So I will copy and paste all the lines, same lines of code again. So I've just did almost copy and paste. Now, but the one more class, basically one more line we have to write down additionally. When there is, right now we do not have any record inside the database. So for example, if we will have 10 records, so obviously we are not interested to update all 10 records. If you want to update a particular employee record, so you need to pass the employee ID, where you need to use the where condition. For example, something like this. I'm just writing here update employee, update employee, set employee name or set employee salary equal to, let's say, 1000, 1000, where employee ID equal to 1. So look, this is the where class. This is basically the where class we have just used here. Now this where class, how can we specify? How can we specify where class in the content value? So you can specify this way. Now this way you can just specify. Now let me just specify here. A where string where equal to employee ID, employee ID equal to plus employee ID, plus employee ID. This one employee ID. This employee ID is a column name, and this employee ID is basically the variable value which you have just passed from there. So now this is, now one last thing we need to just do here, mydb dot update. Now once again it's need the table name, content values. So I'm just writing here dot update table name, which is employee, and then we have the content values, which is values, and then we have the where class, which is where. So where is basically our the where class, and the last parameter I'm just passing here null. So this way we can basically update our record. I think this is enough for today. Lecture, because it's still need, this application still need a lot of more things we need to do. So in the next lecture I will finish. So for today I think this is enough. I will stop here. What you have to do before coming to the next class, next week, next class, you should at least design your user interface, write down the code of the main activity.java, and write down the code of DB helper class, and understand and write down the problem. If you will have any problem, ask me in the next class. So if anyone have any question right now, they can, for one by one you should raise your hand, then I will give you a chance to ask the question. Regarding the video, how I will upload the video, basically just after your class, I will upload the video of today's lecture in YouTube. And then in your LMS, I will provide you the link of today's video. So what you have to do, you have to go to online into your account, copy the URL and paste in browser. You will see the video of today's lecture. So, and along with the URL, I will also provide you the MS Word file, which will be having all the code which we have practiced today. Application is not completed yet. Next class we will finish it. I think for today this is enough. I never want to create a burden on you. So anyone have any question, you can raise your hand one by one, please.
Sir, I have no question. Thank you.
How was the today lecture? Is it simple? Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
It
not
was
bad.
simple.
Much better if one by one you will reply. Yes, any problem in today lecture? So far, whatever I teach, is it clear to you?
Yes, sir. Good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's clear, sir.
Okay, fine, fine. So if there is no question, okay. Now, once again, I'm just telling you, look, a lot of students, they are logged in, but their registration is not here. Normally, it's difficult for me to find it out every student with the name. Log in with the name and the registration next time. Right now, I'm just taking the screenshot and will upload your class attendance within 15 to 20 minutes into your account, and then you can confirm your account. Tonight, I will also upload the video and will also upload the MS Word file. Keep in touch with me through the WhatsApp group. If there is any problem, any issue, you can directly share with me. If you do not have any question, then I'm going to end the today class session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Regarding your result, inshallah, in 1 to 2 days, I will also announce your result as well. So far, I haven't checked, but soon
الجيزة
I
اللي
will just
بتاعيهم
check.
كلاس كي يبسن كريمة.
Sorry? So there is no question, huh? So thank
No
you very
question.
much. So I'm just going to end the session, today class session. See you next week, next class, and Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
باي
Have a
سرتي.
good day.
Bye, 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 sir.
Allah Hafiz.